Okay, so let's dive into this. You sent over some really fascinating material on cryptocurrencies. It's a topic that's just exploded, hasn't it? From niche tech
Hmm.
to, well, everywhere.
It really has. And this article we're looking at, the Revolución de las Criptomonedas, the cryptocurrency revolution, it tries to map that out. Global adoption, the challenges, where digital finance might be heading.
Right. And our plan here is basically to unpack this article, pull out the key takeaways, connect the dots based on its perspective so you get a solid overview of how this source sees the landscape.
Exactly, a deep dive into this specific view.
And it kicks off right away, doesn't it? Reminding us that Bitcoin back in 2009 was like an experiment.
Just an experiment. And
Yeah.
now it's this global thing disrupting, well, everything. Finance, business, how people even think about money.
The article points to a few key drivers behind this massive shift.
Yeah, it highlights decentralization, this idea of no central control. Then there's the security aspect, the blockchain technology itself.
And potential for financial inclusion, right? Reaching people outside the traditional banking system.
Definitely. That's a big part of the promise it outlines.
But it's also pretty upfront from the start that it's not all smooth sailing. Mass adoption isn't guaranteed.
No, it flags those hurdles early on. Regulation is a big one, technical stuff, and just general social acceptance. These are the big themes it explores.
So first up, it looks at the global spread. How crypto has gone worldwide.
Right. It talks about the sheer market growth, the capitalization figures, huge numbers, and importantly, that it's not just Bitcoin anymore. The whole space has diversified.
Yeah, it brings up others, like Ethereum. That's the one known for smart contracts, isn't it?
Exactly. And stablecoins too. The ones designed to be less volatile because they're pegged to dollars or other assets.
And it doesn't just talk theory, it gives actual examples of adoption.
Yeah, real world stuff. Companies like Tesla, PayPal jumping in.
And even countries making moves. El Salvador, Switzerland are the ones mentioned.
It shows it's moving beyond just, trading between enthusiasts.
Which leads to the next point, I think, which is really interesting. Uses beyond speculation.
Yes, this is where it gets practical. Using crypto for actual payments, making cross-border remittances cheaper, faster maybe.
And those smart contracts you mentioned.
Yeah.
They're the foundation for a lot more, according to the article.
Totally. Things like DeFi, decentralized finance, trying to rebuild financial services like lending, borrowing, but on the blockchain, without the usual middlemen.
And NFTs as well.
Yeah.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yep. Changing ideas about owning digital things, art, collectibles, that sort of thing. The article presents these as evidence that crypto is evolving into something with real utility.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit. The article spends a good chunk of time on the tech underneath it all. Blockchain. Calls it the base of digital trust.
Right. It breaks down the basics. How it aims for security through cryptography, how it's decentralized so no single point of failure or control and transparent because the transactions are usually on a public ledger anyone can check.
So the argument is that this tech is what allows for trust in a system without intermediaries.
That's the core idea presented, yeah. Peer-to-peer trust, digitally enabled.
And it also points out that the tech isn't static. It's evolving.
Definitely. It talks about the move towards more efficient networks, cites Ethereum's big upgrade, Ethereum 2.0, moving to proof of stake.
And it mentions others too, like Solana and Layer 2 solutions.
Solana and Layer 2s, which are basically ways to make transactions faster and cheaper by building on top of existing blockchains. It shows there's active work on improving the infrastructure.
And this section also dives into that elephant in the room, energy consumption.
Ah, yes. The is Bitcoin ecological question. It acknowledges the high energy use of Bitcoin's proof-of-work mechanism.
But it also presents alternatives.
Exactly. It highlights proof of stake, the system Ethereum 2.0 and others use, as a major emerging solution to tackle those environmental concerns. Less energy intensive.
Okay, next section in the article focuses on, let's call them the growing pains, regulation and security. This feels like where things get messy.
Yeah. It really highlights the global patchwork. You've got the EU trying to create a comprehensive framework with MiCA markets and crypto assets.
And then on the other extreme, you have places like China imposing bans.
Exactly. It shows just how differently countries are approaching this, which makes it hard to have, a consistent global environment, a real challenge.
The article is also really direct about the risks involved for users.
Very direct. It lists things like scams, fraud, which are definitely out there, the price volatility, of course, although it does note stablecoins aim to address that.
And the illicit use concerns, like money laundering.
It frames all this around a crucial question the source raises. How do you actually protect people in this new, fast-moving space?
It also touches on central banks, doesn't it? Their role is changing too.
Yeah, it brings up CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. These are basically official digital versions of national currencies, like a digital dollar or euro, issued by the central bank itself.
And it positions these differently from private cryptos like Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Right. It sets them up almost as a comparison, maybe even a competitor or a complementary system. It suggests their interaction will be really important going forward.
Okay, so after the challenges, the article looks towards the future. Where might this all be heading?
It gets a bit more speculative here. It talks about concepts like Web3 and the metaverse, suggesting crypto could be foundational for new digital economies within those spaces.
And this idea of asset tokenization comes up again.
Yes. Taking real-world things, real estate, art, maybe even company shares, and representing ownership of them as digital tokens on a blockchain.
The potential there being
What?
making them easier to trade, more accessible.
Yeah, potentially making these traditionally illiquid assets more divisible, easier to buy and sell, opening up investment opportunities. That's the idea presented.
But even looking forward, it circles back to a pretty fundamental question.
The big one, scalability and mass adoption. Can these systems actually handle mainstream use? Can they really compete with traditional finance in terms of, speed, efficiency, and just sheer volume? Still an open question, according to the source.
So wrapping it all up, what's the article's main conclusion? Its synthesis.
Well, it clearly sees cryptocurrencies as a major disruptive force. Significant potential, particularly for democratizing access to financial services and maybe lowering transaction costs. That's the positive spin.
But it balances that with a very clear-eyed view of the hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. It lists them out pretty explicitly.
Yeah.
Key challenges that need tackling for this potential to be realized.
Like regulation, finding that balance.
Exactly. Creating rules that protect users and prevent crime, but without completely killing off the innovation that makes this space interesting. That's a tightrope walk.
Technology needs to keep improving too. Scalability, energy use.
Definitely. Solving the throughput issue so these networks can handle massive volume, and dealing with the energy footprint, especially of proof-of-work systems. Critical tech hurdles.
And people just understanding it better. Financial education.
Huge point. Users need to grasp both the opportunities and the very real risks. It's complex stuff.
Plus, the price swings volatility is still a major issue for many cryptos, making them tricky for everyday use.
Right. Unless you're talking stablecoins, that lack of price stability is a barrier.
We also saw the fragmented global regulation. The need for more international coordination seems clear.
Yeah, that patchwork approach creates uncertainty and difficulty. And security remains a constant battle. Hacks, smart contract bugs, always needing vigilance.
Then there's just getting average people on board, mass adoption, overcoming inertia, making it user-friendly, competing with what already exists.
Cultural resistance, ease of use, competition, all part of that mass adoption challenge. And finally, that sustainability question around proof-of-work mining just keeps coming back. It needs a broader solution or shift.
So the article kind of suggests the future might involve integration, crypto working alongside traditional systems.
That seems to be the underlying idea. How well these new digital tools can mesh with or perhaps complement existing financial infrastructure, maybe even including those CBDCs we talked about. That could define what's next for money.
So quite a journey through this one article. We've gone from crypto's origins, its spread, the tech, the big regulatory and security questions, future potential, and a pretty hefty list of remaining challenges, all from this single source's viewpoint.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground. And its final thought is quite interesting. It says crypto isn't just an asset, it's potentially a movement towards a more open and transparent financial system.
But its evolution hinges on finding a balance.
Right. Balancing technology, regulation, and society. Specifically, it says innovation with protection. That's the key tension identified.
Okay, so building on that final thought from the article, this need to balance innovation with protection across technology, regulation, and society. Here's something for you, the listener, to think about. Based on everything we've just pulled out of this source, which of those three pillars, the tech itself, the rules we make for it, or society's understanding and acceptance, which one do you think faces the biggest uphill battle in the years ahead?
Something to definitely mull over. Keep these points in mind as you watch this digital finance world continue to evolve.